What's up, guys? Welcome to today's video. Today we're going over the patch 7.2 Prot Warrior and what you can expect to see once the live servers hit. Our patch is soon going down for maintenance and not a lot of things have changed. You're going to see around the same damage mitigated. All of that stuff scales with gear, and the damage is still very potential. In this guide you will see two different builds. And I will talk about two different builds. Those builds are your Raid Warrior and the Devastator Mythic Plus variant. So Prot Warriors can be very versatile. It just depends on if you can get the playstyle of Devastator down. And I will mention those two as the Raid Warrior and the Devastator Warrior as we continue. With our stat priority, if you're going for the Raid Warrior variant, for this patch, I am looking for mostly a Mastery Versatility crit with haste. Now, the reason haste does not last, but I have put it as last just because I have the amount of haste required. Once you get haste to about 25-30%, you will just be stacking Mastery and Verse. And the reason behind this is Mastery involves your critical block. Right now your 2-piece out of Nighthold involves critical block, and it involves critical blocking for your 4-piece, which gives you 5 rage. You are going to want your 4-piece. It is the helm, the shoulders, the back, and the legs. So that's pretty cool. But the Devastator Prot Warrior. So the Raid Warrior is haste to 25-30%, Mastery Versatility crit. The Devastator Prot Warrior, if you can get the playstyle down, you can do it at any haste level. If you cannot get the playstyle down, recommendation here is 35% minimum. The reason this is a 35% minimum before you go for the Mastery Versatility crit is because your swing timers are based off your haste. The reason that you swing faster, you reset shield slam faster, that's why it's a Mythic Plus tank. The one changed spell that is mostly noted in 7.2 is Spell Reflection. It's an instant 25-second ability that lasts for 5 seconds. You raise your shield, reflecting spells casted on you, and reducing your magic damage taken by 30%. Not a lot of Prot Warriors I've noticed have been using this. When I run dungeons as Fury, and I have a Prot Warrior, in the middle of Nel's Lair where those shard guys are, you pop that shield, and you don't take any damage. It's all reflected due to your artifact abilities. This spell right here is being buffed by the second half of it. Reducing all magic damage you take is being buffed from 30% to 50%. Now, you will have to unlock that in your 7.2 artifact traits coming on your artifact weapon. The one is going to be here, and they're going to be over here. This last time I looked on MMO Champion, they were right here. For your artifact weapon ability, before we get into our rotation for both of these specs, your artifact is very simple to roll out. If you are just getting into this expansion, recommendation here, as you start leveling up your artifact knowledge, go from our Neltharin's Fury, which is our artifact ability. You have to stand still, which kind of sucks, but you get the critical blocks as well, so it's very useful. It does a shitload of damage. Come down here to strengthen the aspects, and then we're going to go up this way. You're going to skip Thunder Crash, come up to Dragon Skin, over to Reflective Plating, and over to our first golden trait, Dragon Scales. Blocking an attack has a chance to increase the total damage ignored by your next Ignore Pain by 40%. This is very useful. Grab weak auras, it's an add-on to track this. When you can track this, you can pop Ignore Pain better. It's better for you. As we come back down, You're going to go back down to Intolerance, come back up here, Wall of Steel, and then we're going to go grab our second golden trait, Scales of Earth. This is an AoE damage, also increasing armor. So when it procs, you're going to want to also have a weak aura for this one because it involves crit. After we get our second ability, you're going to come down here to Vrykul Shield Training, come over to Last Stand or Will to Survive, go over to Rumbling Voice, and our third golden trait, which is Might of the Vrykul. Shield Slam and Thunderclap generate 50% increased rage during Demo Shout, or Demoralizing Shout. This is very, very helpful. When you pop that Demo Shout, you want to make sure that every GCD is either a Thunderclap or a Shield Slam. It's really, really awesome to use with Devastator. It can pull off a lot of rage in a very little amount of time. It's crazy. So after you get that third trait, where do we go? So you have 3 different ones to choose from. We have Rage of the Fallen, Thunder Crash, and Toughness. Get those in any order because that will fill your artifact trait out. And then you come over here to Unbreaking Bulwark. This is currently going from 35 to 54. In 7.2, you will have 1 trait of this. According to MMO Champion, we get 1 trait of this, which does the increased armor part. That may change, so that's subject to change, but as of right now, that's armor. Okay, so our talent priorities. If you are going for the Raid Warrior, which is what I have spec'd into right now, we are going to run Shockwave over the others. The reason you run Shockwave is it's a stun, it's an automatic stun, it interrupts all spell casting, and it's a stun for 3 seconds. Stormbolt is 1 mob for 4 seconds, and Warbringer, it says it stuns things, but it doesn't really stun things. When you charge at the enemy, what it does is it says all enemies are now stunned within 5 yards for 2.5 seconds, and the intercept deals an additional 46,000 damage. This stun does not be applied until the mob has stopped casting. 9 times out of 10 when you're wanting to stun an enemy, it's to make them stop casting. So Warbringer, while it is effective for damage, don't use it. Level 30, Inspiring Presence, always. You don't want to be using Impending Victory because it involves rage and it replaces Victory Rush. And Safeguard is highly situational, probably mostly for PvP, but I don't use it at all. For our level 45 talents, you're going to be running Avatar, removes all roots and snares, and gives you a 20% damage boost. Very helpful. You pop this with Battle Cry, and you just do a ton of damage on the pole. You pop an old War Potion on pole, I mean, your damage can skyrocket as a Prot Warrior. It is nuts. Best Served Cold is an AoE. Every mob you hit, up to 5, increases revenge damage. 1 ability. It's just revenge. Not going to do much when there's 1 target there. Maybe if you can get it 5 every time, but 1 target, nope. And Renewed Fury. Ignore Pain enrages you, increasing all damage you do by 10%. So while this is a flat damage increase by 10%, this involves your Ignore Pain. So if you're not casting enough Shield Slams to get Ignore Pain off, this buff is detrimental. It will not help you. This is why Avatar is best. It is a 20% over a minute and a half, so it is technically a 1.1 minute cooldown, or a 1 minute 10 second cooldown when you look at it that way. Level 60. This week's Mythic Pluses, before these patch 7.2, you're going to want to run Warlord's Challenge, but that was last week's, so That's probably never happening again, but if it does, run those 3 with Warlord's Challenge. It allows you to taunt when Berserker Rage is up with no cooldown. But for right now, as a raid tank, you're going to be running Crackling Thunder on main tank, Bounding Stride on off tank. Crackling Thunder is a 50% increased AoE on Thunderclap, and Bounding Stride is a mobility increase. For level 75, Indomitable always as a raid tank, unless you are comfortable playing Devastator and your healers will heal you. Use Spike is a ton with Devastator, and the Devastator build is more meant for Mythic Pluses. But Indomitable raid tank increases your max health by 25% and increases the max effect of Ignore Pain by the same amount. Rather helpful considering they nerfed the Ignore Pain pool by 33%. A while back, but that's still relevant. Level 90, so a lot of tanks right now that I've noticed when I inspect people run Booming Voice. If you can get Demoralizing Shout and proc it when it comes up, this increases a 60 rage, so it gives you a free Ignore Pain when you cast it, because you can time this in with Ignore Pain for a macro, like /cast Demoralizing Shout, and then underneath that it's /cast Ignore Pain, and that'll give you a free Ignore Pain and increase all the damage. However, run Vengeance. When you run Vengeance, it used to rely on Shield Slam and Focus Rage, but since Focus Rage was removed, it now relies on Revenge. You're going to want to be casting Revenge when it's on the free ability or you are about to cap Rage. And I'll show this here in a little bit, but when you cap Rage, that's when you're going to want to Revenge. Otherwise, use it when it's free. Hit Ignore Pain when you're at like it's 38 Rage on Ignore Pain and 60 at Revenge. For our last talent tree, you're going to be using Heavy Repercussions. Every shield slam you do while shield block is up increases your shield block duration by 1 second. And the damage is increased by 30%. While that damage is a side effect, it still helps you do damage to the boss. And in a Mythic guild, I could see this being helpful because even the tanks need to be doing damage in Mythic. So that's something to be useful. If you overgear the content, say you're in, I don't know, 890, 900 item level tank in a heroic, run Ravager. And I kid you not, you stack a ton of mobs on top of this Ravager, hit Avatar, hit Battlecry, and you just watch damage numbers fly. It's hilarious, it's funny, it's fun to watch, and you take 35% increased parry. So you won't be taking much damage when you watch all that fly. This is our raid tank. For our Devastator warrior, you're going to be running Renewed Fury and Devastator. That's the only 2 things you are going to change. Now, the only reason you'd be running Devastator over Indomitable, this build right here absorbs more damage over the course of a fight if this fight is longer than 7 minutes. If this fight is longer than 7 minutes, you're going to be ignoring more damage up front and throughout the fight. Because this is also helpful in Mythic Pluses, but this is more of a Mythic Plus build. The reason you don't use this in raids is because of the upfront damage that this takes. This takes a little bit of ramp up, but when it ramps up, you don't take much damage. You're casting Shield Slam to the point where you don't know what to use Rage on. And Revenge is never off of cooldown, so you can't sit there and hit it fast enough. I mean, it's crazy. But the same abilities here, Renewed Fury because you're casting Ignore Pain so much, and you're keeping everything else. So, let's go ahead and go back to our raid tank. We are now in the rotation part of this guide. The rotation on our raid tank is as follows. and it's not really a rotation per se. But this is what you want to keep off of cooldown at all times. Shield Slam, Thunderclap, Niltharian's Fury when you're starting to take damage, and Revenge. Revenge is last on this list because it requires Rage, and you don't want to be spending Rage on Revenge when you have the Revenge already casted and you can cast Ignore Pain. So let me go through this real quick, and I do have a Trophy GCD add-on that'll show this here. So if I mess up, look down in the middle of my screen about here, and that will tell you what I'm actually casting. So what we're going to go and do is you charge in, you pop Battle Cry, you pop Avatar, you pop Shield Slam, and then I go into Devastator, and you'll notice here we instantly get 60 Rage. So now you're still fishing for that Shield Slam, and you want to be casting our Shield Slam when it is off cooldown. When it sits here about 1 second, you want to not have anything up. You want to be waiting for that Shield Slam. And I know that sounds a little weird, but wait for that Shield Slam. Obviously I'm hitting a training dummy here, but you'd be getting a lot more rage if you were being attacked by a raid boss. So that's pretty cool. The other reason you're going to be wanting to run this, if Ignore Pain is about to fall off. So right here, how it has 4 seconds. At about 2 seconds, if you have greater than around 500k on your Ignore Pain, reproc it. It's around 2.2, 2.3 million dependent on your health. Ignore Pain is always dependent on your health. But for around a 6 million health pool, you're going to be looking at 2.2, 2.4 million on that Ignore Pain. So keep those in mind. For the second build, you're going to be running, once Avatar comes off cooldown, you're going to be running Renewed Fury, Devastator, and keep that the same. So this second build is mostly used for Mythic Pluses. We will charge in, pop Battle Cry, you pop Shield Slam. You no longer are casting Devastate. Your auto attacks do this for you. So dependent on your procs, this can go horribly or this can go well. Obviously you're not casting anything. You do need a weak aura. I will put this weak aura down in the description. If this weak aura turns red, you don't want to be casting anything. If it's white, you can cast things. But you need to be managing your swing timer. And you'll notice here, I have a 1.8 million hit point health pool, or million hit point Ignore Pain rather. I'm trying to get this up here to show you that every time I'm recasting this, it only sits at 1.8. It'll never go any higher. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this guide, go ahead and like it. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please don't hesitate to ask in the comment section below. I will answer them with the best of my knowledge and help you guys out throughout the journey of 7.2. Have fun playing your Prot Warrior.